I believe from indications that the population is about 1,300 or 1,400.
If you want to live in the tropics, you've got to be prepared for hurricanes.
The tropical island disturbances formed west of Cook Island, moving north-northwest.
Every year we have warning. Sometimes we take heed of it, sometimes we think, well, it's gonna miss.
The Niue government have had a bit of difficulties with preservation of records. Like any developing countries, they are limited resources.
The records of Niue are very important to us. The record needs to be upgraded. It's fading, it's rotting, and it's gonna go away unless something be done.
Present location is 120 degrees west, 50 degrees south. This is an extremely dangerous Category 5 cyclone with sustained winds of 285 kilometers per hour.
And all of a sudden you can start hear the wind blowing a bit more and faster and quicker.
I had battened down the house, nailed up all the windows and the doors and put everything away.
It started ripping the roofs off, but this was the worst hurricane cyclone that we've ever had.
This was actually big waves crashing onto the buildings.
As we were sitting in the living room, a huge wave hit the house. We never heard it coming and we never saw it. And the whole room filled up with seawater.
In 2004, a maximum force Category 5 cyclone struck the island nation of Niue, 1,500 miles northeast of New Zealand. It was miraculous that only 2 people lost their lives, as the devastation leveled a long coastal area. Although it was perched 90 feet above sea level, the home of Henny and Ernie Welsh was swept away as Herculean waves rose up the cliffs, crushed and devoured plant life, and carried man-made structures out to sea. The rest of the island weather had wind gusts up to 200 miles per hour. Years later, the scars are largely still visible. Government Minister Tiongia Sionoholo summed up the damage to his area.
The cyclone damage was basically saltwater damage caused by storm surge. It caused the waves to come right up to where the buildings were. And for the museum, it was total loss. In the museum, I believe the collection there was physical items from a collection around the island. In the Justice Department, our records are basically to do with land and registers of births, deaths, and marriages, and records from the courts.
Years earlier, family search volunteers from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had meticulously microfilmed many of Niue's vital records. Stored in the Granite Mountain Vault in the mountain range above Salt Lake City, Utah, new copies of the destroyed records were presented to the government of Niue. These valuable documents include 30,000 images of birth, death, and marriage records, and an index of Europeans who immigrated to Niue. The documents also included genealogies of Niue women, which are used for determining property rights, as well as some other genealogies that could be used to establish ownership by inheritance.
It is of significance factor for us that we can always fall back on what has been microfilmed beforehand. And at that stage, I was quite happy to say, oh, even if we lose some of these things, we still have records we can fall back onto. So we're very happy with them.
The fury of nature took a heavy toll on the trees, buildings, and people on Niue. But even when a natural disaster destroys the physical originals, the vital records that preserve the memories and events of a people need not be lost forever. Restoring the records of the past is one part of helping the residents of this island rebuild and look forward to the future.